You're all very welcome. We're delighted to have such a big number interested in this, and we're delighted that Paula O'Connor from Galway Roscommon ETB is hosting today. It'll be short and sweet, but we're hoping that there'll be some ideas and some tips or suggestions that will suit you or your tutors or your colleagues. So it's remote working with adult literacy students. And thanks again to Paula. And at the end, because we're going to mute everyone, including myself after this, if you have questions at the end, type in, and we've time. Paula will look at the questions, call them out, and give a few verbal answers. We keep everyone muted and everyone's camera off. So listen, good luck, Paula, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Thanks, Fergus. So I just start my slides here. So I'm a tutor with mostly in numeracy and computers in the GRETB since 2010. And I also work with NALA on their Learn with NALA over the phone project. Prior to 2010, I worked in telecommunication companies. So I'm very familiar with all these PowerPoint slides and remote conference calls. So hopefully this goes well. Over the last 3 weeks, I suppose we've all been steeped in getting WhatsApp calls from your granny or from everybody. Everybody's on something. The only problem is everyone's on a different device or a different product, let's say. And there's lots of different products and they're suitable for different things. So today we're going to show you how, in our experience of NALA, with working with a lot of learners remotely, how best you might do it. So just to give you some ideas, and maybe lots of ideas, and maybe just use 1 or 2 of those in your learning. So I think we're all agreed that as our time of staying at home continues, we need to be engaged with our literacy learners. And it's more about staying in touch than in particularly teaching them things, but maybe in supporting them in things they need to be able to do now that they're at home and perhaps on their own or with one other. The e-learning will be a bonus for them if they do that over the coming weeks. Now I just need to get rid of something here. Okay. So the outline for the webinar today, we're going to look at the different types of connections that are available to us. We have them listed there, just the phone, free conference call, WebEx, Zoom, Hangouts, Teams, and there's lots more. We're going to look at the NALA resources. These resources have always been available to us, but maybe we were happy creating our own resources. Not to forget that these resources are online and are fantastic. Other resources, then we look at maybe things that the learner might find useful in these particular weeks. And then we look at some other tools that might be a bit more technical, but nevertheless very good. And once you get started on them, all very easy to use. So a lot of these things, you might have some teething problems, but really, once you get into it or get a little bit of support or try it out with one of your colleagues, you'll find that they're all fairly intuitive and work very well. So I think we're in a sort of a particular niche at the moment. We have a lot of talk about wonderful teachers getting full classrooms into Google Classrooms and whatnot, and that just doesn't really suit a lot of our literacy learners. And we have a lot of different levels with technology, and to begin with, we need to define something. You as the tutor knows best how something will sit or how something will suit your learners. You also need to ensure that you have an agreement within your organization or your center of how you're working with your learners, that they're happy with what product you're going to try out or use. We need to remember that not all learners or tutors have access to broadband. And then a lot of our learners won't have access to tablets, laptops, smartphones, but they might have an old smartphone, a non-smartphone, we'll call it, a non-smart mobile, I think it's defined as, and otherwise they might have a landline phone. So some of our learners might have an email address within our centre's domain, as in that they would have a GRETB email account. That gives us more options, but not many of them will maybe. So during isolation, I suppose we all know that people have maybe more time to work in their literacy and computer skills, and they may welcome a distraction of a regular class call, and they may like the companionship of their familiar classmates. So we've been doing some calls like this out of our own centre, and I have to say that not everybody is dialing in. We've touched base with everybody, but people are delighted to come on the call and meet their buddies from the class, you know, so it is nice. So if they get more comfortable, I know you've probably all been teaching them some computer skills. If they get more comfortable and confident in using those skills, it gives them a greater communication avenues with family and friends. And having said that, the family and friends that maybe do the little bits for them online may not be visiting at the moment, and they might not be able to help them remotely. We all know that there's millions of websites, applications, and games that are a great distraction in a long day. Just to find one that you think might suit your learners. So the engagement that we give to our learners over the coming weeks might give them some continuity in their learning and confirm, you know, their attendance when the centres reopen. So we're going to look at various different connection options, and just bear in mind that you might just use some or none of them. The first one we nearly forgot about, the very basic thing of just your telephone. So you might be limited to a one-on-one, but that would suit your one-on-one learners. So you could have that phone call, have your session on the phone call. Then it's important to highlight that you have that session, you plan it as you always would have. You can figure out then on that first call if the learner has access to email, and if they have, it opens up your set of resources to be online that they can share online. So as usual, you plan around the learner's needs, design a learner-centered, sorry about the typo there, learner-centered session, build resources to adapt to new teaching methods. So you keep it simple and do what you can do over the phone. And you could use some of the resources that we'll be talking about in later slides. And as usual, review how the calls are going and track your progress. So with all the different communication tools we have, I think that freeconferencecalls.com is most suited really to begin with, at least with our classes. It suits all learners, even if they have no Wi-Fi or device or smartphone or no technical knowledge for video calls. What it involves is going to freeconferencecalls.com, registering as a host. When I register as a host, I get what's in the blue box down the bottom here, my account information. I get a dial-in number, an access code, and a host PIN. Those figures, those numbers don't change, which I like, because now I can do one invitation and all I need to change in that invitation is the date and time of the meeting. And if the class is always, say, Monday at 10 o'clock, then I don't need to change that either. So my message, please dial into our conference call. To enter the conference call, dial this Dublin number, and when asked for access code, enter the number, 6-digit number and a hash. At the scheduled time, everybody dials in and the host puts in the host PIN, and then everybody is on the call together. So that has worked really well. Everybody can dial in, and I think even if you want to do more advanced communications on videos and that, it's a good way to get started. So you can tell them while on this free conference call how to do the connection via video. So maybe we're not all familiar with conference calls, and just some tips which maybe are fairly obvious, but as a host, you schedule the call and adhere to the times. Enter the call early and give people 5 minutes to join. Introduce yourself and then make sure everyone introduces themselves as they join. Keep a list of who's attending, make sure everyone knows who's on the call, and keep a list of who's attending to refer to them by name during the call. Be prepared with a set agenda and stick to it. Ask attendees to turn off or mute any background noise if possible. There is an option for the host to mute everybody by pressing *5, and then anybody can unmute themselves if they need to speak by pressing *6. So in a conference call, it's good to ask people questions and go around one by one, calling them by their name for their thoughts or opinions. Be patient, giving the attendees an opportunity to speak. So I think it's probably best to keep everyone unmuted, depending on the number of people on the call, so that people can speak up. At the end, thank everyone for joining and for their input. And as a host, you can be the last to leave. So another product that we've become aware of that is now available free for 90 days to everybody is Cisco WebEx. This kind of does a full range of features, but what I like about it is that we can dial in from a landline or from a non-smart phone. So that's a big advantage. So you could have some people on video and some people dialed in with the landline. As a host, you download Cisco WebEx, you sign up, and it gives you the details here that I have on the right-hand side. You schedule meetings and send invites. So that works very like the freeconferencecall.com. I've looked up how they compare, and they compare very well. So both offering the same features. I had never heard of Zoom up until last week, and the Zoom conferencing application works very well. Works on all devices, again on smartphones now, not on a non-smartphone. Very easy to use, and to log into a Zoom call, to view a call, you just need to click on the button and you don't need to be set up with an account. So that's an advantage to using it with our learners. The basic personal package is free, but limited to 40 minutes, which I think they might have gotten rid of that limit of 40 minutes. I'm not quite sure. It's good to this is good, even if we're not using it. I think it would be good to introduce our learners that are able for it, introduce them to it so that they might use it with family and friends. For those of you that haven't used Google Hangouts before, it is fantastic. You don't have to, you can invite people to a Google Hangouts. So again, it's video calling and sharing of documents, Google Docs, etc. You invite them, and you can invite anybody. They don't have to be, you invite them by email, but they don't have to have a Gmail. They don't have to have a Google Mail. And I've used Google Docs for a number of years, and it's fantastic. To get into Google Docs, you're going to go into your Gmail. This is me on a screen logged in as Gmail. That's P for Paula. This here, those 9 boxes, they're actually Google applications. So you click on that, and then down, keep scrolling down, and you'll see Google Hangouts. to click into Google Hangouts. And again, just do your video call, invite people via their email address, and they'll see that pop up on their screen and they'll join. And that works very well. MS Teams. We're using MS Teams now amongst our tutors in the centre to have meetings together, and it works very well. To invite people to an MS Teams, they have to be within your domain. So anyone I'm inviting to an MS Teams meeting needs to have a GRETB email address. The amount of features are fantastic, but maybe a bit too much for our learners. There's lots of videos online about how to use MS Teams, and it's very intuitive. Very good for video calling and for sharing of documents within SharePoint, OneNote, everything. And I think it's probably a good solution for classes, maybe level 4, level 5 with good technical skills. So now we move on to the different resources that we might use while we're in all of these applications or in one of these applications. Edel, one of my colleagues in NALA, writes the NALA monthly newsletter. It's always full of topical content and excellent. We can see a clip there of this month's distance learner. So that's available on the NALA website. Again, you can email that to the link to your learner. We were all familiar with NALA's offering of writeon.ie, and now we have the Learn with NALA. So this is a wonderful website that has been tested by a number of centres and has now gone live for all centres. NALA are working hard at getting all of our modules up on this platform. At the moment, we have 4 platforms up there, I think. So we have a link there to Learn with NALA. And you just need to register your centre, and that can be ongoing during shutdown. Register your centre with learn.nala so that then your learners are going in under your centre. NALA have tutor resources up online on their new website, a wealth of resources, and available. They're fantastic. You can search for them by subject, by levels, by awards, and resource type. So don't forget that you can send your learner a link to one of these, or maybe you can download it and send it on a WhatsApp or send it on email. And then you can both work remotely on the same document, even without having printed it or anything. Likewise, I often go online to download one of NALA's documents. So say if one of my learners has the Better Handwriting for Adults and I don't have a copy of it here at home, or it's just handier for me to download it, and I can tutor them using that document that I can see online. Likewise, now they can download documents and you can work on that over these weeks. The choice is yours. I said I also work for NALA with Learn with NALA over the phone. So this is the free one-to-one support that NALA gives to tutors, or NALA gives to learners. And this can work as complementary to people doing classes in a centre, or if people just cannot get to the centre for a while, or if people need particular help and just online session or the online phone call tutoring suits them. So each session is about 30 minutes or an hour per week. So other resources then that we've been thinking about that we could use over the coming weeks. So as is obvious, the learner always has resources in their own home. So if possible, you can email resources, keep things that you're emailing brief, because they mightn't have a printer and it's hard to navigate a big long document on your phone or on a computer. So using resources the learner already has. We've all been getting the Come Together Right Now postcards from An Post. So we could look at assisting learners to write those postcards. We're also getting the COVID-19 document from the HSE, and we could have some lessons around reading that and understanding it. The online application form for COVID-19 pandemic unemployment payment, people might need assistance entering data on that. Don't forget, learners will also have some local newspapers, books or magazines that you could base a session on. That's something that we'd often do now on the NALA over the phone learning. So here we just have a clip of one of the lovely postcards that we've got in the post, and we could assist our learners in writing and sending those postcards. I have a link here to the information booklet that we're going to be getting in the post from the HSE. And I saw last night online, I was impressed that there's a copy of it that's an easy to read document. So less text, more diagrams. Very nice. Also available in a lot of different languages in the HSE website, which will help when working with your ESOL learners. So other tools then that we thought maybe worth mentioning. I was never one really for Facebook Live, but I've seen such fantastic offerings on it in the last 3 weeks. There's artists doing concerts, live concerts, and then you can watch them in playback if you've missed them live. So you go on to, say if you go on to Paul Brady onto this site, and if you follow Paul Brady on Facebook, then you'll get a little notification the next time he's doing live. And then you can log on and see him in Facebook Live, talking live, playing music from his kitchen. It's wonderful. Also, a lot of people offering yoga classes online. We're a fan of Jamie Oliver, and he's doing live videos, and he has his kids at home, and they're making wonderful, healthy dinners and treats. And Joe Wicks is the body coach, and he's doing workouts at 9 a.m. You can get up that early. 9 a.m. weekdays. And he's coming up to nearly 1 million attendees, I think. So we're doing well on our webinar. We're not on 1 million yet, Fergus. Other things that we might take for granted that our learners could maybe get some great enjoyment out of in these weeks. Spotify is fantastic for music, old and new, all genres of music, and it's free. Likewise, YouTube, and YouTube's very good if you want to figure out how to fix your dishwasher, which we did on Saturday. Nice comedy on YouTube, even some movies and things. Audible is a very nice product. Again, it's an app, or you could have it on your computer, and it's to listen to audiobooks. And they've made a lot of books free just in the last few weeks, especially around children's books. And they also have a 30-day free trial. Now you don't see the text, you just hear the book, but they're wonderful to listen to because they're read so nicely. And your first book is free. So if you wanted to, if you're a member of Audible and you send a book to somebody, their first book is free to listen to. So you'll know yourself, you can think about what other apps or products you use that might while away the time and be enjoyed by our learners. So the first week we were off in this staying at home, I think there was an information overload really. We got so much that we could do from home. Just some of the things, maybe the e-library that the Irish Public Libraries provide, they provide this all the time, that we can see a lot of online services for free. So you need your library ID and a PIN. So There's also a link here to museums that we can visit online around the world. And World Theatre Day, then, they've put up a whole lot of plays that were recorded, and we can now see them online. I watched one last Saturday, and it was most enjoyable. You could have a look there, and then maybe recommend things to your learners. Dublin Zoo webcams, people, if that's their interest. But you'll know your learners, and you'll know what interests them, and be it fishing or knitting, sewing, embroidery, whatever, you could find some interesting things on the internet and send them some links to get them started. So now, just to mention some other tools that I often use and people in NALA would use to enhance our remote learning, and may seem very technical, but they're not really once you do it once. So Google Docs, you might be familiar with. Again, you go into this the same way as I went into Hangouts earlier. And when I'm in Google Docs, I can share a document with anybody, and then we can all edit the document at the same time or at different times. And it's very good and great learning tool. You know, if somebody was writing as a tutor, you could be teaching them, tutoring them online about what they're writing, spellings, or doing any grammar corrections, things like that. So we also started using vocabulary.com. It's an interesting product in that you use it I use it on my PC. I can assign spelling activity lists to many learners, and then they go into vocabulary.com on their PC or on their phone, and it kind of uses the Spelling Bee app to test their spelling, so to help them to learn spelling. Sometimes it can be very difficult to explain to somebody how something works. So if we were to make a little small video of me doing something on my PC, and then I send it to them, then they can see very clearly, oh, this is how it's done. So I can use ScreenPresso to do that. I installed ScreenPresso on my laptop, and I record my screen on it. So press record, do the little thing that I want to explain, and close it. And I can do that with voice. So sounds very technical, but it's very easy to do. We can do a similar thing on the iPad, which is wonderful. We can turn on screen recording on the iPad. We can record something with voice and show them how to install an app or how to play an app, things like that. And then you send that video, if you keep it short enough, send it some way, email, WhatsApp, whatever, and they just click on it and they can see what you mean. So another thing, I had a learner recently, and I was trying to teach her how to use a mobile phone, a new mobile phone, a smartphone. To do that, we can refer to the type of phone they're using. We can refer to that we can search it on our PC and find the manual for that phone. So that makes that easier. So all these little clips then that you might make of how to do various things, you might choose to go to the next level and put those on a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, you can share things with, you can make things public, or you can share things with just certain people. I often put up family videos and just share it with family, and that works fine. Here we're just looking at Google Docs. So that's Google Docs. In the interest of time, I'm just going to not play that video. So this is a little bit on vocabulary.com. So vocabulary.com is designed really to be used for a class, so that I would create a class called my Monday class, and I would put in my 10 learners from my Monday class and assign a word bank to them. What we found in NALA is that we're better off really to have one person per class, privacy purposes and everything. So it might be different in your centres or wherever you want to work it. But I would have a class and I'd call the class student XYZ and assign spellings to that class. But I can have a list of, let me see now. I have lists of spellings then, and I assign lists to a particular class. So it's no problem to use it on an individual basis. That's a quick look there on vocabulary.com. That is an actual video. In the interest of time, we won't play that. And then the learner gets an email like this, asking them to join the class. And when they go in, then it speaks the word, and then they type in the answer. So it seems very technical, but it's not. And we found, myself and another girl used this with a lot of learners through NALA, and found that learners really like it. And they like it as well because we can put in the particular words that they want to be able to learn they want to be able to spell, be it for their family or for work or their hobbies. So we put in a word bank of words that they want to be able to spell, and they can use it on their phone, you know, if they're waiting in line for something or they have a bit of downtime. So we found it very successful and we've kept using it. It's very good. So I was talking about creating word banks. There's various sites where we can go in and create a word bank. I have some links to them there. You might want to create a word bank for fishing. You know, you can do it yourself, but there might be people interested in with different interests that you're maybe not familiar with. I've one learner recently, and he works in medical devices. So a lot of words there maybe that I'm not familiar with, but we've built a word bank around that. That's a slide there on ScreenPresso and a link to the download. ScreenPresso is also good if you wanted to record learners doing something, say for a skills demonstration. Maybe we wouldn't be doing that at the moment in these weeks. Here I just have included the settings for screen recording on the iPad, because I have to say they're well hidden, but the screen recording works so well on the iPad once you get started with it. You need to make sure that the screen recording is not restricted with parental control as well. So that's outlined on this slide. And then you just go to your settings and record. So I can go in, turn on screen recording, then download an app, play the app, stop the recording, and now I've taught somebody online how to install and find an app in App Store, install it and play it. So that's handy. Just to recap, we looked at various options, the simplest of which is just a phone call. The second simplest is the free conference call, which we've proven to work very well. You can also look at Cisco WebEx, Zoom, Google Hangouts, Microsoft Teams, the list goes on. But just suffice to say that maybe within your own work environment, your center, actually come to an agreement of what you are using. We've given you all reminders of the various wealth and resources that NALA provide, the newsletters, Learn with NALA, tutor resources online, and the Learn with NALA over the phone option. We looked at different resources just to think of different resources that the learners might have at home that we could use in our lessons going forward, and then in other things, that various apps that we can inform our learners of that are free. Facebook, YouTube, Audible, many free sites, and Facebook Live is just getting better and better. We then looked at some other tools, Google Docs, vocabulary.com, Screenpresso, the iPad, screen recording, and putting things on a YouTube channel. So putting it on a YouTube channel is very straightforward and good into detail in that. So that's it. I hope everyone got something out of that, and I don't expect that anyone could possibly use all of that information.